Hello dear friends, my name is Alexander E. I am the CEO of WebWise Capital Venture Fund. Today, I would like to share the story behind our venture capital fund, how it was established, what we have managed to accomplish, the challenges we have faced, and where we stand today. Let's start with a bit of background. Why did we decide to create the venture capital fund in the first place, and why do we see great potential in this direction? First of all, since 2017, we have been active participants in the cryptocurrency market. We have tried a bit of everything: mining, trading, participating in ICOs, engaging with various projects, and investing in projects. At one point, we even had a master node fund with over 300 nodes in our portfolio. Later, we established our DeFi asset management fund, DigiU Wealth, which is still operating successfully to this day. We also launched a real estate tokenization project. As many of you know, we have the AVA Cross-Curve project, and largely thanks to it and thanks to being on the side of both investors and projects, we understand the challenges that projects face and just how complex this path can be. We have built a huge network. Now we can view the market from different perspectives: those of investors, users, projects, market makers, launchpads, and more. In other words, we truly understand this market from the inside. We are now engaging with top players in this market. All of this set the stage for our transition from business angels, investing in various projects, including our own, into a professional venture capital fund. Furthermore, as we connected more with other venture capital funds and actively raised investments for the AVA project, we started to see the market from a new perspective. We have had extensive discussions with traditional venture capital funds from Silicon Valley, the United States, China, Europe, Asia, the United Arab Emirates, and beyond, which has given us insight into emerging trends. Many of these funds are traditional venture capital funds. What do I mean by traditional? These are funds that invest in such fields as biotechnology, medical technology, space technology, and classic IT startups. By traditional, I mean non-crypto funds. Many of them are now creating funds or branches for investing in the cryptocurrency market. Why is this happening? Firstly, the exit speed in the crypto market is faster. In traditional venture capital funds, the earliest you might see an exit is around 3 years, and that's at the very minimum. On average, it's typically 5 to 6 years or even longer. In the crypto market, this period can be significantly shorter. How so? Instead of going through an IPO, a project might conduct an IDO, or listing on the cryptocurrency exchange. Tokens become liquid, creating a secondary market, which allows investors to recoup part of their investment earlier. In some ways, this market can also be considered less risky compared to traditional venture investments. Let me explain the difference. Of course, the cryptocurrency market is much associated with scams. There is always a risk that a project might fail, even with good intentions. The business model might not take hold. Plus, there are many regulatory risks, as this field is still largely unregulated. We're just beginning to see the regulatory efforts take shape, and in some cases people are being prosecuted retroactively. For example, we have seen cases where ICOs are now deemed illegal, and even the CEO of Binance, the largest crypto exchange, was briefly arrested, though he has since been released. In this respect, the cryptocurrency market is certainly more risky. On the other hand, for professional venture capital funds that carefully select projects, network with other investors, and conduct in-depth analysis of market developments and plan partnerships, the risks are reduced. Why? because it's harder to lose all of the investment. In traditional startups, if things don't work out and they never go IPO, the funds invested are essentially lost. In the case of the cryptocurrency market, a project can still conduct the listing on an exchange. Even if the token's value hasn't surged, it's often possible to return part of the investment. From this perspective, these investments are somewhat less risky than traditional venture capital. This gives two major advantages. First, there is a quicker exit with liquidity and a secondary market appearing much earlier. Second, the investment rarely goes to zero. You might lose some portion, but to lose everything usually means the project completely failed or turned out to be a scam, which of course does happen. This will likely be the case in our portfolio as well. Every venture capital fund will have such projects. They do exist, but scam doesn't always mean fraud. It can also mean that a project simply didn't succeed, perhaps due to miscalculations or a lack of funds. Yet people often label it as a scam. All of this, our network, our understanding of the market, and our experience since 2017, along with our participation on both the project side and the investor side, plays a crucial role. We engage in extensive discussions with exchanges and launchpads, and we have even developed our own launchpad. We work closely with market makers. Thanks to all of this, we have a deep understanding of the market and the factors that influence it in detail. We now consider ourselves professionals in this market. We are no longer chasing after 1000x returns in a month. That's not our goal, though it can happen. What's more important to us is the preservation of capital, even though these are high-risk investments. We are selective about where we invest. We won't back just any potential profitable project. Instead, we have a well-defined strategy developed over the years through discussions with various market players and other venture capital funds. For this reason, we believe we are true professionals in this field now. We understand that in the past we operated more as hamsters. In the cryptocurrency market, hamsters refers to those who lack understanding, who are new to the space and buy tokens at random. They tend to believe whatever is presented in public channels without examining documentation, attending webinars, or engaging with project founders. They are investing based on readily available information. In our opinion, these investments are very likely to be unsuccessful. After all, venture capital business is in many ways a legalized trade of insider information. In other words, publicly available information has very little value. When you can have conversations on the sidelines of a conference, where projects share their plans while seeking investment, discussing what has worked, what has not, and who they are signing agreements with soon, you gain a wealth of information for making the right decision. Additionally, you can connect with their investors and some serious funds. When you ask why they invested, they explain their reasoning, their strategy, and how they plan to support the project. This all constitutes a form of insider information, or at least additional information that most crypto investors lack. These investors typically buy tokens from the market or participate in private sales, and so on. All of this allowed us to confidently establish and grow our venture capital fund. In many ways, we are already operating as a venture capital fund. We are starting to be recognized under the WebWise Capital brand. Recently, in September, we sponsored a bootcamp alongside notable sponsors like the Solana Foundation, as well as several other funds such as Binance, Gate.io, and various market makers. This group served as mentors for 13 selected startups. I was genuinely impressed by the caliber of these startups. They have already raised at least $1 million from venture capital funds and possesses established business models with revenue streams. These are serious startups from around the world, including Argentina, Germany, Singapore, the CIS, Latin America, and more. The quality of the projects was outstanding. We have established close relationships and started collaborating with various funds, such as the Solana Foundation, gaining deeper insights into their ecosystem. We now see them at different conferences and events, maintaining ongoing communication. Our network of contacts keep expanding. Over the past 3 years, while securing funds for the AVA Cross-Curve project, I have personally engaged with at least 700 potential investors, of which 500 are funds of various sizes. This included a wide range of funds, from small and unknown ones to major players like Pantera Capital, Polychain, Gumi Crypto, Long Hash, Umber VC, and many others. 2 or 3 years ago, when we first started engaging with them, they felt like giants to us, and we were quite nervous before meetings with these funds. Now, however, we communicate with them as equals. Moreover, we are becoming their investors. I will cover this a bit later. Right now, I'm trying to paint a picture and help you understand how we got to this point, what led up to creating our venture capital fund and its success. Again, it's our expertise, network, deep market understanding, and view from different perspectives, those of the projects, the investors, users, or other participants in this market. Additionally, we now understand that we can genuinely help projects. We can not only provide funding, but also serve as smart money, the kind of partners that all projects are looking for. This is because we can assist projects in solving issues that previously took us months to address with the AVA project, during which we made several mistakes. Now, with just a phone call or a single message in a chat, we can connect the project with the right person who can either provide consultation or offer a service that resolves the issue within a week. And this is incredibly valuable. It's a form of acceleration that we offer to the projects we invest in, as well as to our own projects that we are currently developing and launching. I hope this overall picture was easy to understand, especially for those who have been following us not so long ago. What I am about to share next is the result of years of work, particularly over the last 3 years. Now, let's discuss the strategy of our venture capital fund. We recognize that we are a relatively young fund. On one hand, we are already establishing a name for ourselves. On the other hand, we are still small and not particularly well known despite our interactions with many funds. For example, we have signed agreements with Pantera Capital and Electric Capital, and we are in the process of signing an agreement with Galaxy Digital. Galaxy Digital is a major structure that includes a venture capital fund, an asset management fund, and digital banking. They won the tender for the sale of FTX assets, which was an exchange that went bankrupt. Galaxy Digital was the one that won the tender to manage the liquidation of these remaining assets to compensate for the losses of investors and creditors. As a result, we currently have access to these transactions and can purchase Solana assets at a 60% discount, as well as other assets. Galaxy Digital is a major player in the industry, and funds like Pantera Capital and other large funds are buying from them. This means we are currently in this league and have access to these transactions. However, we still lack significant weight and reputation, so it's essential for us to align ourselves with strong players. This also allows us to diversify our expertise. While we have a solid understanding of DeFi and infrastructure, we are still in the process of learning more about the Tone ecosystem, which we are actively exploring. We are still less familiar with NFT projects and DID, digital identity. This concept acts like a digital passport, allowing users to authenticate themselves through their wallet address without revealing personal data. These services are currently developing rapidly. Moreover, credit ratings similar to those in traditional finance are emerging in Web3. Each wallet will have its own credit rating, which will be anonymized but will affect various access levels, approval amounts, and so on. Everything is moving in that direction. In other words, everything we have become accustomed to in the traditional financial system is gradually emerging in a decentralized format within Web3. All of these aspects are beginning to be regulated. Of course, we are placing a significant bet on these for the next 5, 10, or even 15 years. That's why we are actively involved, as we see great potential in this field. We understand that corporations, venture capital funds, and even governments are currently investing in this direction. But governments are moving more slowly, and that's justified because the field is still not fully understood. It's unclear how to regulate it. However, everyone recognizes the potential and that the future lies in this direction. Therefore, it's natural that the public sector is adopting this much more cautiously, allowing certain things and regulating them very carefully. Essentially, a significant part of our strategy involves a fund of funds, meaning that we act as investors in other funds. You will soon see the advantages of this strategy. First, we don't just rely on our own expertise. For instance, we invest through 10 different funds, specifically large market-leading funds. For example, Pantera Capital, which launched the first fund with $1 billion under management and currently manages around $750 million. Galaxy Digital is currently working on their final cryptocurrency fund with $150 million. Other notable funds include Electro Capital, Figment Capital, Amber VC, Multicoin, and Long Hash, which is a highly specialized and impressive Asian fund. Right now, we have one of our team members in the United States meeting with these funds in person. There are specific nuances with American and Asian funds, which we will discuss a bit later. Overall, we become their investors. Of course, we immediately negotiate access to the deals that these funds have. This allows us to co-invest with them on the terms they receive, which are always better than those offered to investors of a different tier, so to speak. Therefore, first of all, we distribute expertise and don't rely only on our own. Some funds have a better understanding of certain topics than others. In other words, we gather expertise from, say, 10 top funds. Secondly, we gain access to a flow of deals that have already been vetted. Often, these are deals we wouldn't have had access to otherwise. We might have had access, but it would have been more challenging to obtain. Over the past year, we have been working to build a system that allows us to receive a vast number of projects. We are invited to various pitch sessions and pitch days where projects present themselves and their ideas to attract investment. This is an incredibly massive undertaking. In a month, we received over 100 different presentations from projects at various stages, speaking different languages and located in different countries. We realized we needed a team of analysts. But can we really rely only on our own expertise? It's a significant and complex process that venture capital funds build over many years. That's why we have streamlined this route as well. We are now selecting already vetted projects, those that other reputable venture capital funds are investing in. These funds have teams of analysts, typically 3 to 10, who study these specific projects. Furthermore, we don't just analyze these projects, we also ask our partners, why do you think they will succeed? What time frame are you expecting for these investments? This means we ask questions and learn a lot of valuable insider information. That's the second advantage. We receive a very high-quality flow of deals, not just any projects at different stages, but those that have already been selected and are genuinely intended for investment. This is the flow we are working with. Additionally, we diversify our expertise, as I mentioned before. And most importantly, as we realized, we chose this strategy nearly a year ago and announced it. We have only recently started presenting this strategy to our potential fund investors. Our fund will have no more than 100 investors, specifically 99, due to legal requirements. We are currently negotiating with a mining pool from China and major investors from India and Vietnam. We already have investors who are familiar with us from the CIS. However, we haven't actively started attracting investments to our fund yet. Yes, we explain what we are doing and that we are making investments. For example, in October, we invested in the Mars-based project, and you will learn more about that soon. We also made investments in September. We are investing relatively small amounts and becoming more recognized in the venture market. However, we haven't made a large-scale entry into this market yet. Our first public appearance was in India, but our first joint event with some top players will be at the cryptocurrency conference. We are currently determining with whom we will collaborate. There will be a DevCon conference in Bangkok where we will be hosting our own event, possibly in collaboration with AVA and some top funds. We are currently working on this. Moving forward, we plan to be represented at many conferences, not necessarily with booth, but through our side events. How does this work? There is a main conference, for example, Token 2049 in Singapore, which is one of the most significant cryptocurrency conferences in the world. During those 5 days, there are 400 events organized by projects, funds, and really anyone who wants to participate. Some of these events are private, while others are public. Currently, we are mainly attending private events, as we have exclusive invitations. This also adds valuable information and a certain level of prestige to our fund and its participants, among other benefits. What I want to say is that over the year, we have realized that our investors find this strategy very appealing. The minimum investment in our fund is $100,000. The larger the investor, when it comes to investing $1 to $2 million in the fund, the more interested they are in the fund of funds strategy. They often say, "We have tried investing in various projects ourselves, but it hasn't worked out." This is understandable because it requires a professional approach. It's something that needs to be done 24/7. Keeping track of changes, communicating with other market participants, and obtaining insider information. It's not simply a matter of liking a project and deciding to invest in it. That might happen, but it will be more of a coincidence. With a professional approach, the likelihood of overall success is certainly much higher. That's why the fund of funds model is more appealing to them. Moreover, when they learn about the funds through which we invest, they show great interest. This gives us even more confidence and motivation, and we become even more active in our efforts. The first part of our strategy is indeed the fund of funds. The second part involves direct investments in projects. We maintain strong relationships with projects and people in this market, which allows us to receive recommendations. We can consider making direct investments in certain projects, not through other funds but directly. This is how traditional venture capital funds operate. We have already completed some of these deals. For instance, there was a similar deal in October, and so on. The third part involves a venture studio and accelerator. Essentially, these are investments in, let's say, our own projects or teams that we are familiar with and closer to. Why does this part exist? For example, how was the AVA project of AVA Cross-Curve created? We were addressing our own challenges, particularly the issues faced by our fund, DigiU Wealth. When Binance Smart Chain emerged and many new chains started to appear, we needed a way to move liquidity between different blockchains. At first, it was an internal project. We were solving this issue for ourselves. Then, people started reaching out to us and saying, "Guys, hurry up, we need this solution." We started to understand the problems in this market more deeply and realized we needed a more serious approach. Now, AVA has evolved into a substantial project that has collectively raised over $7 million from top international funds. There is good news. Whether you are following it or not, on December 5th, there will be a TGE, meaning the AVA token will be launched. Within the next week, highly anticipated listing will likely take place. We have delayed it several times, not because we wanted to, but sometimes due to the market conditions, and at other times because we realized we needed to refine or change certain aspects. We were also restructuring the concept to ensure we wouldn't be competing with giants like Layer 0 or Axelar, but rather to create a way to collaborate with them. Now, we have succeeded in doing that. We have created the safest cross-chain solution on the market, and I can say that with full confidence. We have developed a consensus from various cross-chain protocols. So keep an eye on AVA's news. I believe this is a significant event for the entire ecosystem and for everyone who is following it. For those who have recently joined us, this project has been in development for over 3 years. It's a project backed by top international venture capital funds, and now it's launching. This will be sort of an IPO. There will be a listing on cryptocurrency exchanges. The partnerships Ava currently has are, of course, extremely valuable. Ava has recently received a grant from the Tone Foundation. I can't disclose the details due to an NDA, but the Tone Foundation is providing strong support. The Curve exchange will be launching in the Tone ecosystem, and accordingly, Ava Cross Curve will also be available there, serving as a means of transferring liquidity between various blockchains, including Tone. On November 1st-2nd, the Gateway Conference will take place in Dubai. This is a Tone conference. I'm flying to Dubai tomorrow. First, there will be the Binance Blockchain Week, organized by Binance, where CZ, former CEO of Binance, will be present. Then, on November 1st-2nd, the Gateway Conference will be held by Tone. We have already discussed with the Tone Foundation our interest in investing in projects that are emerging on Tone and supported by the Tone Foundation. All the top projects in the Tone ecosystem, like the StoneFi exchange, the Tone Keeper wallet, and Get Gems, are backed by the Tone Foundation. Tone Ventures initially invests in much of this, and we plan to meet with them in Dubai. They promised to include us in the Tone ecosystem investor pool after our first investment in the Tone ecosystem. Recently, Pantera Capital invested around $25 million along with Paper Ventures and Cypher Group. We will be added to this investor pool, which will include dedicated chats, meetings, discussions, and project exchanges. We will have advanced knowledge of which projects are supported by the Tone ecosystem, where Tone Foundation and Tone Ventures are investing. There is also an accelerator called BOMO, and TOP is another major venture player in the Tone ecosystem. We are gaining more expertise and connections, understanding how everything works within the Tone ecosystem, as well as in the Solana ecosystem, Linea ecosystem, Ethereum, and so on. Does this help with investments? Absolutely. We discussed the Venture Studio and why it's important and beneficial. We often have ideas and hypotheses about what will be in demand in the market soon because we receive a wealth of information from projects and funds, allowing us to understand trends and understand market pain points. For example, we might recognize that a project has a great idea, but the team may not be capable of executing it effectively. We understand that these are inexperienced guys who have not done anything serious like this before, so it's unlikely they will attract significant investments. In that case, it might work as a venture builder project, for example. On the other hand, the team might be great, but their ideas could be quite mediocre. We can provide them with ideas and guidance on what needs to be done. We can help them promote their idea, but ultimately, the team will be the ones driving it forward and being passionate about it. These are just a couple of options. There could be more possibilities, but we also have a number of ideas ourselves. We often lack the resources, especially time and financial backing. Any project in this market requires huge expenses, starting from servers, salaries, marketing, services, and listings. Ava will spend around $500,000 on listings, $500,000. Marketing also requires significant budgets, often in the six-figure range, to make everything happen. These are indeed very serious and impressive figures. However, we understand that a venture builder is a platform where we can implement our own projects. The fourth aspect is that we can acquire undervalued assets from the market that are already listed. These are tokens that already exist. We can either buy them on the secondary market, or from an open market, or an exchange, and hold onto them for a long term, knowing, for example, that in 3 months they will have a major announcement, an update, or a partnership with a significant player. We allocate no more than 15% of the entire fund to this, and it will likely be even less. This strategy also includes the possibility of buying Bitcoin during market dips to add to the fund's portfolio and simply hold it. Again, we are not a Bitcoin fund, and we are not creating a Bitcoin ETF. We just want to keep a small opportunity to buy liquid tokens and sell them, always being aware of what's happening in the market. This outlines the strategy of our fund. Now, let's talk about what our venture capital fund currently looks like. You can visit our website, WebWise VC. This is almost the latest version. There are still a few changes to be made, but overall it reflects the current situation. Right now, for the last 1.5 to 2 months, we have been actively negotiating with funds like Pantera Capital, Electric Capital, and Multicoin. These are American funds. Gummy Cryptos is also American, and Longhash, for example, is Asian. This is regarding our intention to become their investors. We are not just partners with these funds. We are investors in them to exchange deals. We have already signed agreements with several funds that are ready to accept us. It's not that easy, as some may try to become investors in Pantera Capital. This is not a straightforward task. They ask, "Who are you? What do you do?" Plus, the entry threshold is quite high, at least $1 million or $2 million. We do not want to simply put a slide in a presentation stating that we are investing or we will invest through these funds. No, we are signing specific documents like letters of intent, indicating our intention to become their investors and that they intend to accept us as investors. We plan to exchange deals, organize joint events, and collaborate on project selection and analysis. We are currently negotiating all of this. It's not always convenient because the time difference with the US can be 12 to 13 hours, especially since I'm changing time zones. This means I sometimes have to make calls at night, which isn't very comfortable. However, we are actively engaged in this work and we are doing it successfully. In fact, we have already signed agreements with some funds, including Pantera Capital. We have already signed with Electric Capital as well. We are also currently joining various blockchain associations. We have prepared a list of associations we want to become a part of. This includes partially government structures, associations within specific countries, such as Vietnam Blockchain Association, the India Blockchain Association, and the Indonesia Web3 Association. There are also Asia Blockchain Association, the Middle East Blockchain Association, as well as European, American, and Latin American associations, and so on. We are also joining these associations because we believe that building relationships with government structures and similar alliances is an important aspect. In the Emirates, we are considering creating our own blockchain association because we haven't found what we were hoping for in existing ones. We want to have events, educational programs, platforms for exchanging experiences and expertise, and opportunities to invite our startups, for example, and so on. This is all a significant amount of work, but we are already making progress. I believe we will join several of these associations this year. We had initial plan to register a separate company for the venture capital fund. However, we took our time to choose and consult on which jurisdiction to go with. We first decided to do this in the United States, because for better or worse, it's the most respected and reputable jurisdiction for funds. Then, in the light of various arrests of Pavel Durov and other events, we started considering the possibility of opening in the United Arab Emirates. Ultimately, we decided to aim for something exceptional. So right now, not at this exact moment, but this week and last week, we have been working with lawyers in the United States to establish a separate company for the venture capital fund there, where we will have no more than 99 investors. Obviously, everything will be official, everything will be documented, and everything will be on the proper legal level. Because the figures involved are substantial, with million-dollar investments, investors obviously want to have transparent relationships with a company that serves as a fund. I believe that by mid-November, we will have submitted the complete package of documents, and then we just need to wait, maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months. We are not sure how long these registration procedures and account openings will take. However, from our side, we plan to submit all the documents by mid-November. So, what does the fund look like now? You could say it's already functioning as a company in the United States. We are currently accepting investments under a temporary agreement, which states that when the U.S. company is established, all rights and obligations will be transferred to it. We are already operating as a fund. We are already being recognized as a brand. And people are starting to want to collaborate with us and exchange deals. This isn't just deal swapping with average investors. We are talking about collaborating with top players in the market. We recently attended a private event hosted by Amber VC and Finbushi Capital. Finbushi Capital is a prestigious Asian fund, with Vitalik Buterin as an expert on their team, and they are also investors in Ava. I was in Singapore at a private event organized by Amber Group and Finbushi Capital, where we met the venture division of Amber Group. Amber is one of the largest market makers in the world. They have 4 verticals, including digital banking, private banking, asset management fund, and venture division. We spoke with their venture division and agreed to exchange deals. He said something like this: "Listen, I understand that you are probably exchanging deals with someone else, but when you start exchanging deals with us, you won't need anyone else because the quality of deals is completely different. We have not received or signed any papers yet, but I think he is right. The projects that come to us from most investors and potential funds are not very interesting because we realized that they are more interested in helping other projects secure funding. We asked them, are you investing in this project yourselves? And they say, no. So they help projects attract investments and make money from that. They call themselves venture capital funds. But it's less interesting to interact with partners like that. Although we maintain contact with all market players, We are still focused on a different level of play, and we are in it. So we are stepping up and becoming investors in top funds. Our investors are investors in Pantera Capital. Just 3-4 years ago, we couldn't have imagined such a thing. Just like with Ava, we once thought it would be cool to connect with 1inch, Curve Finance, Uniswap, and some top protocols in the market. But now, we are communicating with them as equals, negotiating collaborations, and it would be great to connect with some blockchains. Now, we are communicating with them, receiving support, grants, marketing assistance, and so on. The same goes for the funds, but Ava took a longer path, while our journey with the fund is shorter. We already know many of them. Everything is built on relationships, trust between people, reputation, and so on. That's why we are sometimes amazed ourselves. We allow our investors to become investors in the top venture capital funds. We probably haven't reached an A16Z yet. Overall, I have the opportunity to become an investor in A16Z, but their minimum check is around 15 million, so it's probably too early for us. We are raising our first fund of $25 million. It's not much, but it's fine for a start. Why that? Because the less liquidity there is, the easier it is to generate returns. If you manage $1 billion, achieving high returns on that amount is significantly more challenging than on $1 million. Therefore, with $25 million, we understand how to operate. We have specific strategies for this. And while there are strategies for larger amounts, the return will naturally decrease. Thus, the company is being registered, we are already investing, organizing joint events, joining blockchain associations, becoming investors, and we want to invest through about 10 venture funds. We are currently signing agreements. We have already signed with some funds and are investing through some funds. That's the current status. This is what we have managed to achieve over the last 6 months, maybe a year, but it's not accurate to say that we have been very active in this work, because there have been many other issues, including other projects. But now, my focus is almost entirely shifting to the work of the Venture Capital Fund. Once we submit the registration documents, meaning we will have all the documents submitted and we'll just be waiting for them, we will start active work with potential investors for the Venture Capital Fund. It's already ongoing, but not as actively. We have a pool of investors from Vietnam, India, China, the CIS, and the Emirates. But we have not taken on many investors yet. Those who were already ready to provide some funding are the ones we are currently working with. However, we have not actively attracted investors to the fund. DigiU, of course, is one of the investors in our venture capital fund. Accordingly, by purchasing DigiU shares and repaying installments, you also become co-investors with funds like Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, and others. And probably, from the latest updates, if anyone is attending conferences, and we have been attending many recently, you can see me in Dubai starting tomorrow. I will be there until November 5th, and there will be various events. I am primarily interested in Binance, Blockchain Week, and Tone Gateway. Then in Bangkok, starting from November 12th, most likely on November 11th, we will have some event, possibly a private one with other funds. On November 12th, there will be DevCon in Bangkok, and then we will have a conference in Vietnam. I don't know where else we will be represented until the end of the year, because, to be honest, there have been an enormous number of flights this year, and I would like to take a break and just pause. So there are the news. Stay tuned for updates on AVA, the DigiU ecosystem, the Venture Capital Fund, and the Launchpad. It's a very promising project. And you know what? I forgot to mention something very important. We are communicating with Pantera Capital, for example, and Galaxy Digital. Their planning horizon is like that of traditional funds, 10 years. They allocate 8 years for deployment, meaning the placement of funds and investments, and 2 years for distribution, which is the time needed to exit deals because that also takes time. We are still aiming for our fund to be 5+1 years. However, as I engage with more and more impressive people, we realize that the longer the time frame, the higher the likelihood of success. No matter how much we want it, AVA is still aiming for an exit in about 3 years or slightly more. Of course, it's possible to achieve something quickly in a year, but that will likely not be of very high quality. And our ambitions are such. Right now, we aim to achieve something quickly within a year. We have these goals and we strive for them, but it seems that the market realities are a bit different. Even an experienced company like OpenAI, which released ChatGPT, took several years to become a unicorn. It's the fastest unicorn in history. If you look at companies like Google, Microsoft, and others, how many years passed before they became unicorns and emerged from their garages? We need to study this issue, but I think it takes more than 10 years. It's clear that time is accelerating, technologies are advancing, and this period is shortening. But the planning horizon for many top venture capital funds, especially American ones, is typically around 10 years, just like traditional funds. And this applies to crypto as well. For Asian venture capital funds, the duration is usually longer, around 8 to 10 years. In contrast, for crypto and Web3, they set it at 5 to 6 years, which allows them to cover at least 2 cycles. 2 bull cycles, 2 bear cycles. The market is cyclical and is generally tied to certain Bitcoin halvings. Therefore, a fund with a duration of 6 years, for example, allows you to capture at least 2 of these cycles, while 10 years allows you to cover 3. This naturally increases the likelihood of success. Additionally, large institutional money is looking for long-term investment opportunities. We understand that we are working with a slightly different audience, so we are minimizing the duration of our fund. We plan to structure it as 5+1, meaning 5 years for deployment, in other words investment, and 1 year for distribution. However, this doesn't mean that investors can only receive their returns at the end, after 6 years. Every deal exit, for example, if the fund sells tokens on the secondary market or directly, all investors receive their returns with each transaction. This means that the last returns for investors can be withdrawn no later than 6 years. We might extend it to 8 years because we need to align our strategy to be able to invest in funds like Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, and others. We want to minimize the time frame, but we might have a significant portion that we should complete within 5 years, while some investments may extend over a few more years. Right now, this aspect is a bit complex in the team's mind, and we need to resolve it because we cannot, for example, take investors' money for a maximum of 5 years. Of course, they will receive returns throughout the entire period with a maximum of 5-6 years, while we invest for 10 years. These aspects are something we have to resolve, and we are discussing what can be done with Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, and we are managing to negotiate with some partners. So stay tuned for updates, including the updates on the Venture Capital Fund. Stay tuned for the Launchpad updates. There will be many events happening, and we are placing a big bet on this project. In some ways, it's similar to Ava. Some things work out while others do not. However, this project is developing, and negotiations are ongoing with various partners. For instance, we know what the Ton ecosystem currently wants. The Ton ecosystem itself is tired of all sorts of notcoins, hamsters, and other useless tap-to-earn games. They are definitely interested in real products, such as launchpads, wallets, and so on. We expect that our projects will be supported by the Ton ecosystem in the near future, and our venture capital fund will do everything necessary for that. Obviously, it's also easier for the fund to promote the interest of all the projects in its portfolio. Here, it's a balancing act. The cooler the projects in the portfolio, the cooler the fund. That means people are more willing to talk to you at any level. The more prestigious the fund, the easier it's to help the projects in its portfolio. Accordingly, we are working on both aspects, and thanks to the fund of funds strategy, we are building an impressive portfolio, plus we have our expertise. I'm confident that Ava will be just fine, and it's now recognized in the market, both within the blockchain community and among projects and venture capital funds. And we say, this is our project. Oh, cool! What other projects do you have? So, we will work on balancing this, enhancing both the level and quality of the projects in our portfolio, which in turn affects the success of the fund, and we will move forward. We are focused on the long term. We believe that the future lies in this, and it's extremely interesting and promising, and we will be engaged in this for decades. But this doesn't mean that funds are created for only 5-10 years. If a fund is fully deployed, the next fund can be established. For example, Pantera Capital is now on its third fund, and they continue to create more. There are many nuances. I think we could talk about this endlessly. We are currently gaining a better understanding of how this entire industry operates, under what conditions funds work, and what challenges they face. We also share insights with them. They are real people. They share some insights with us, and of course, this allows us to grow and develop, gaining new knowledge and understanding of how the market really works. So, thank you for being with us and for supporting us. We are doing everything we can to achieve maximum results. Moreover, not just short-term fleeting results, but sustainable and long-term ones, which will serve as a foundation for further development. And this is the beauty of such ecosystem development. If you look at Galaxy Digital, Amber Group, and Pantera Capital, they have divisions that engage in asset management, similar to our DigiU Wealth. However, their strategies might be different. Some are currently creating tokenized strategies related to real estate or ETFs on Bitcoin and so on. They have venture divisions, and they also have their own developments, projects, and so on. This is also ecosystem development, and it has significant advantages because one aspect strengthens the other. If something doesn't work out in one area, but another stabilizes and diversifies it, we definitely support such progressive and sustainable movement forward. I believe that there will be more exponential growth ahead. Thank you all. Have a great day.